Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Catholic Cocktails. This is the weekly video production of Salt and Light Catholic Radio in Boise, Idaho. And basically what we do is we get together here at our favorite Irish pub and we talk about saints and we talk about drinks. And they're all found here in this great book, Drinking with the Saints, by Dr. Michael P. Foley.
So as Brian said, we'll introduce to you a drink and a saint for the week. Their feast day is usually along the week somewhere. It could be the beginning, the end, whenever. And then we'll send it over to Teresa Zepeda. We'll actually tell you about the saint so you can kind of know who we're talking about. And then we'll bring it back here. Our bartender will make the drink for you. And you can follow along. You can pause the video, play the video, whatever you'd like. And then Brian and I will talk about what we learned and get to try the drink.
Yeah. So it might be a good idea for maybe a dinner party or something like that.
Yeah.
Have some folks
Hang
over.
Out, make the drinks.
Have all the ingredients ready, and then you can each try your hand at making one.
Exactly.
So this week's a fun one. This is St. George.
Yeah.
And we're going to try the drink, the Dragon Slayer.
Ooh.
And if you know about St. George, you know why.
He's the guy.
He is the Dragon Slayer. Very Game of Thrones.
Yes, Game of Thrones.
Or maybe not. Maybe it's stepping on a salamander in your backyard. Who knows?
You know, he slayed that dragon, man. If even it's little, it still counts as a dragon.
So we have a mountain of alcohol behind us here. This is a very complicated drink, so what do we need?
Yeah, a little bit more work. So as far as the equipment goes, it's your usual stuff. A shaker, ice, strainer. This time you're serving it in a sour glass, so it's not going to be your rocks glass, and it's not your usual like martini glass. I think it's the taller one.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Learn your glassware, folks.
But of course, I mean, whatever you have at home works. Don't stress. We're not trying to be pretentious here.
A red Solo cup.
Hey.
We're pretty low key.
I was going to say, that's what we always use. And then make sure you have your measuring.
Yes.
Your shot glasses, whatever. But yeah.
An angel just got their wings.
Again, yes.
I love that. All right, well, now we know what we're going to make and the stuff we need to make it. Let's send it over to Teresa Zepeda and learn more about St. George.
On April 23rd, let us lift a glass to St. George, the Dragon Slayer. St. George is one of the most popular saints, being honored not only by Christians, but by the Muslims as well. Although historians continue to debate the date of his birth, they seem to be in agreement on the date of his death, which is April 23rd, 303 AD. George was born to a Roman officer and a Greek native of Lydda. Both were Christians from noble families, and they passed on their Christian faith to George. George joined Diocletian's army, and by his late 20s became a tribunus and served as an imperial guard for the Emperor Nicomedia. On February 24th, 303 AD, Diocletian ordered that all Christians whom the army encountered were to be arrested, and that each of the army's men were to sacrifice to the Roman gods. Now, George refused to follow this order. Although this angered Diocletian, his friendship with George's father caused him to look the other way. However, George did not keep his beliefs to himself, and he professed his faith amongst his peers. Diocletian then tried to persuade him by offering him money, land, slaves, and other such things in exchange for his apostasy. George held firm to his faith, so that Diocletian ordered his execution. George endured several sessions of torture on a wheel with swords, which lacerated him. 3 times they had to resuscitate him, and he still held firm to his faith. And he was finally decapitated on April 23rd of 303 AD. But what's this story about the dragon? Now, there are several versions of the story. I'll share the Western version with you. There was a dragon that was near a town, present-day Cyrene, Libya, and a dragon or a crocodile who had its nest at the spring where the people would come and collect their water. There were attempts to try and drive the dragon from its nest, but these met to no avail. However, the people realized that what they could do was they could offer the dragon a sheep, and this would cause the dragon to leave its nest so as to consume the sheep. The problem occurred, though, when they ran out of sheep. And somebody came up with the bright idea, well, let's now offer young women. And so these poor young women's names were drawn by lot to feed the dragon so that the townspeople could collect their water. It so happened that it came to pass that the monarch of the city's daughter's name was picked. He begged the citizens not to sacrifice his daughter, but of course they needed their water. It also so happened that George was traveling through the area at the time, and he volunteered to slay the dragon, protecting himself with the sign of the cross. He did indeed slay the dragon, and it is said that 20,000 people converted to the faith as a result of his killing this dragon. So it's a no-brainer. A cocktail named the Dragon Slayer is an appropriate drink to lift and toast St. George, the Dragon Slayer.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you so much, Teresa. We're back here at the Harp Irish Pub in Meridian. And again, with us, our fantastic and amazing bartender, Sarah. She has joined us once again. What are we making today?
So today we're making the Dragon Slayer.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. So it's got lots of really fun ingredients in
Love
it. It's more of like, it's like a very like a light, fun, I say, summer drink.
Okay.
We got some vodka, some coconut rum, blue curacao, orange juice, and normally also calls for pineapple juice, dash of grenadine, and some 7-Up.
Alrighty, awesome.
Yeah.
And so you said summery drink. Do you think it's going to be a specific color, or what do you think is going to stand out?
I'm thinking with the red and the blue, I think it might turn a little purpley, but with the orange from the orange juice, we'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a fun color.
Awesome. Alrighty, guys. Well, I'll step away and let Sarah make the Dragon Slayer.
Alrighty, so let's get starting with our vodka, coconut rum, blue curacao, our blueberry liqueur, orange juice, and what we're pretending to be pineapple juice. And we're gonna go ahead and shake that baby up. Strain it out. Top it off with a little bit of Sprite and a dash of grenadine. Dragon Slayer.
So we were all talking here at the pub while Teresa was giving us knowledge about St. George. With all the different colors of the ingredients, we were kind of curious where this was going. Yeah, a little nervous. So when Sarah finished the drink, it's like we had that aha moment, because you've got the green of the dragon and then he slayed it, so you've got the blood at the bottom. Genius.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get layered drinks.
Yes.
Because sometimes they just become black, you know? It just kind of gets messy. So she did an awesome job.
Yeah, that's great. But how does it taste?
That is the question. That is the question here. Do you want the, do you
Give
want
me a straw too?
I'll give you a straw.
Wow.
And then I'll take a straw. And
Such a lady.
then,
She
you know
shares.
me.
She's like that. Now with the straw at the bottom, are you just getting grenadine?
Maybe, I don't know. I didn't
Maybe
wanna-
I'll try mid drink.
Tastes like fruit punch.
You know, it really does.
It's just like the Hawaiian, like tropical that you buy at the store.
You get the coconut at the end,
It's nice.
but it is.
Very summery. She was correct.
Yeah, it is very summery. And summer eventually will get here.
One day.
Not so much here in the
Somewhere
Pacific Northwest where we're
over
filming
the
this, but
rainbow.
eventually it will get to be
Maybe we'll get to
summertime.
August and it'll be like summer for a week.
115 degrees.
Exactly, for 5 days and then be winter again.
So St. George, he's kind of the better known of the Dragon Slayers. We had talked about St. Gilbert several weeks back. If you missed that episode, you can go back. That was actually when Teresa Zapeta was here at the pub with us, so that was a fun
Not
treat.
too long ago.
Yeah. So, but St. George is kind of the better known of the two as far as slaying dragons.
Yes, sir.
He is a martyr of the East and the protector of domestic animals. You and
Yeah.
I are both animal lovers.
Yes. So whenever my dog is ill, I guess St. George is the one.
Huh.
I don't know.
What if I have a pet dragon? And my
He's
name
not
is
the
Pete.
one.
Pete's dragon.
Maybe he's not the guy.
He's another one of those saints. These are always fun stories as far as being martyred and the murderous attempts on his life that fail.
I know. It's kind of comedic now, you know, because it's like,
Yeah.
you know, imagine being the bad guy and they're like, just die, you know,
And it just doesn't
kind
happen.
of bounces all over the
Yeah.
place.
So after several failed attempts, he actually had to be beheaded.
Yeah.
So, yike.
But thinking about the immense trust that we've told story after story of martyrs, and they just walk right into it, no fear, nothing. They just have this absolute trust that they'll be taken care of. You know what I'm saying? And it could be in his situation where he was literally protected from the martyrdom.
Right.
Or, not all the saints were, but it was. You just hear a story of it being different. Some of them say they didn't experience pain, or there's all the stories are very different, and they're just always so trusting. And it's curious to me as to how you get to that point.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so much of it is just knowing where you're going.
Right.
I think the fear that gripped the country, or really the world, with the COVID pandemic, I think a lot of that was just people didn't know where they were going. You know, should you die of the pandemic, then as long as your house is in order, you know you're going to spend eternity with the Lord, then you're not as fearful of death. And I think maybe that's where some of our saints and definitely our martyrs were from, is that they could sing their way to the gallows or praise Jesus all the way to their execution because they knew where they were going to be
jokes
spending.
while they were dying.
Right, the one, turn me over, I'm done on this side. Yeah,
St. Lawrence, what is wrong with you?
that takes some chutzpah, to be sure. So I think one of those things to try to build trust with God, what would you suggest?
I think that we all hear about, oh, you should journal. Everyone should journal. It's so good for your mental health. It's so good for this, that. And it is, and it's awesome. I think a huge benefit that at least taking some time to reflect and maybe have a gratitude journal, or maybe just take that time at night at your end of your day and be like, what God moments did I have today? Right?
Right.
What was good? What was not so good? Did I make good choices? Did I make bad choices? Why did I make, kind of break down your day, or debrief, as my family members will say. Do a little debrief with yourself. And then also try to recognize God moments throughout your day. There's been a lot of times where I was on a trip recently and details seemed like, oh no, we're not going to be able to do this, or finances or something like that, but it just always kind of worked out.
Yeah.
And it's that was a God moment, because I could have been stuck in that airport, or I could have been, that kind of thing.
Without any wheels to be able
Right, exactly.
to jaunt around.
And so it's scary in the moment, but if you kind of view it through that lens, you start to see more and more of that. It's kind of like a muscle memory. If you start practicing seeing God in the small things, you start to do it almost all the time.
Right.
And I've noticed that with myself. I'll be like, oh, that was a God moment. I used to never, you didn't think about that.
Yeah.
You'd just be like, wow, this really sucks, or wow, that's lucky, type thing.
Right.
But I don't know.
Well, and I've said this before ad nauseum, but use God as a steering wheel and not as an emergency spare tire.
Right.
And it just goes back to, do we thank Him for our blessings, or are we only crying out to Him when we're in a crisis that needs to be solved immediately? Yeah. So that's, I think, where we need to, Jesus, I trust in you, and put our day in the hands of our Lord and Savior, that I trust that whatever you want to happen today is going to happen, good or bad, but I can't curse the darkness and just praise you when everything's going all hunky-dory.
Right. Yeah.
So.
No, you can't live your life in that constant state of fear, because you become afraid of everything.
Yeah.
And you become dark inside. You can't find light. You can't find God. So if you don't start practicing that, that's what leads to the huge epidemic of depression that we have going on. Because it's like, where is that light? And honestly, for those who don't have God in their life, I can understand. Like, I can understand why it would be dark. Like, what light would there be, right?
Right. Yeah, the darkness that leads to suicide, it just breaks your heart, because those people had no hope.
Right.
Where our hope is in Jesus. That some people out there just don't have it. So if you have it, make sure you share it with others, and make sure that everybody has that hope of where we're all going for eternity. We'd recently heard a study that came out that if you could have 5 good things to say about a situation versus the one negative thing, and that could be any situation in your life, that things are going to go a lot better, that you don't fall into that negative trap.
Right.
That, I think things might seem a little brighter if you're praising 5 times as much as you're griping what's
Which
going
is hard.
on.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah,
and
it is.
And I totally understand
I'd
that.
be the first to admit that.
But
so
be like St. George, embrace the suffering, and
slay those dragons
slay
in your
those
life.
dragons. Exactly. Thank you.
So just think of your fear as a dragon that needs to be slayed, and St. George is your guy.
Just like yeet that dragon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeet.
Just yeet.
The things we learn on Catholic Cocktails.
In other news, join us next time.
Well, special thanks once again to the Harp Irish Pub here in Meridian for hosting Catholic Cocktails and making us another delicious drink. Jamie and her fine staff down here take really good care of us week in and week out, and we just appreciate them. Again, this is Catholic Cocktails. It's a weekly video production from Salt and Light Catholic Radio in Boise.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the follow button, leave a review, leave a comment.
Give us a thumbs up.
Right, thank you.
We love to see those.
And don't ever feel afraid to, if you have like a differing opinion or you want to start a conversation, you can always reach out to us on Instagram. My Instagram that I maintain is at the @salt_podcast. You also have the Salt and Light Radio Instagram. So if you want to follow along with the station's content and get kind of behind the scenes on what we do at the station,
we do a lot.
We do a lot. So go ahead and check that out. We would love a follow.
Yep, absolutely. So looking forward to next week, we have Saint Catherine of Siena, and we're going to be trying the nuptial cocktail.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that's all about. But until then, St. George,
Pray for us.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.